All right, so as promised, we're going to go ahead and learn how to set up the latest and greatest, the Flux Dev and NF4 models, so you can get the best possible image generations. Of course, completely free, unlimited, and uncensored. And if you haven't seen how to set up Comfy yet, be sure to check out the last video. Very simple process, link in the description, and that will get you up to speed. So in that last video, we ran the basic Stable Diffusion workflow where we generated our first couple of images, and all we had to do was install Comfy and download a model file for Stable Diffusion. Now the process for Flux is going to be nearly identical. All we got to do is download our model file and then two other files and then import our workflow, and we can start generating images with Flux. If we come back into our browser, we are just going to go back over here to Comfy's GitHub page. We are just going to scroll down here. We have the individual examples here for Stable Diffusion and Flux. We are just going to open up the one for Flux, and that is going to take us to this page here. Now, one of the cool things about Comfy is that all of the image that you generate will have the metadata for the image generation attached to the image as well, including the workflow and the text prompt that was used to generate the image. So on our Flux example page here, we have these images right here, and these contain the workflow information and the text prompts that were used to generate them. And that makes it very easy, because if you want to import this workflow and all of the settings into your Comfy, all you have to do is literally grab this picture and drag it into your ComfyUI. So I'm going to take this tab right here and put it off to the side where you can still kind of see it. And then in this window, I'm going to go back to Comfy, and then I'm just going to grab this image and drop it into Comfy. And you can see it imports the workflow for this image. Now, obviously this workflow is kind of messy, so we're going to move some things around and make it easier to see. A lot of the videos that I see on Flux just stick to this kind of basic setup here, which maybe it's easier for some people to just kind of have everything really compact in one place here, but I like to have all of my nodes like spread out to where I can see how things flow from left to right. So I'm just going to rearrange this really quickly. That way we can see all of the pieces better. So to drag all these things over here, drag some of these things here, drag some of these over here, drag that right there, now drag this over to right there, and then I get rid of these down here, right there, right there, and then I drag this over to here, drag that one right there, drag that right there, drag this down here, we have this over here, drag this over here, and have our height and width, so we're gonna drag over to here, step backwards, drag this and drag this and drag this and drag this and drag that, and then we're gonna just take this and make it a bit smaller, and drag that right there, and drag that over here, and then that's go right there, and drag this and drag that and drag this and right there, and put the AE right there, and then I actually just take this and hold it, and then take this down, take this over here right there, drag the AE right there, hold this a little closer, and let's see here, we're getting a little closer, cool. All right, cool. There we go. Right there. Drag this a little closer to right here, and I'm gonna put this down here, and I'm gonna put this over here, and just a little further away so we can see, and that's go there, and then that's I guess that's fine right there, like right there, and drag that over there, and put that right there, and right there, and that's right there. I think that's pretty good for now. It's pretty close to where you have it. All right, and now this, in my opinion, looks a lot better. You can see how everything flows from left to right and what each piece is doing, instead of that big mess that has tanglies and twisties like all over the place. Now these little yellow nodes right here are notes, as you can see. These don't do anything. They're just here for like if you want to export this workflow for somebody else to use. So that's what they've done for us. And as you can see, they tell us exactly what model files we need and where they go into our Comfy folders right there. And they've also provided at the top of their examples page links to get these models. So if we go back to their Flux example page, we will see there's a little bit of information here about Flux, and then here are the links. There's one link for the clip file, and then there's one link for the autoencoder, and then there's links here for the model file. And so before we actually download these, we'll just jump back into Comfy really quickly and see what happens if we try to run this. And this is going to be kind of a standard troubleshooting procedure that you can do every time you try out a new model. You can import the workflow and then just try to run it, and then you will get red boxes around the nodes that are throwing up some kind of an error, and then you'll know exactly what you need to download in order to get that workflow running. So if we jump back into Comfy and just go ahead and try to run this, you can see we get these errors here, and if we just close this, we can see there are red boxes around the nodes that are missing the things that we need to run this workflow. So this is the node that's going to actually load the Flux model file. So of course you can see we need this flux1 dev.safetensors. Up here we have this clip loader, which is not something we saw in the last video because that basic Stable Diffusion model kind of has that built in. Now a clip model, if you want to know what that is, you can see that clip stands for Contrastive Language Image pre-training model. Basically what that does is it converts your text prompt into ones and zeros for the model to use. So we need our actual model, we need our clip model for our text prompt, and then the last thing that we need is our VAE, which again, in that last video where we saw the basic Stable Diffusion model, the VAE was built into that, so we didn't have to worry about it. But here and with most models, you're going to need to get that separately. So those are the three pieces we need, and as soon as we get them downloaded and put them into the right folders, this workflow will run. So let's go ahead and do that. As we saw over here on the top of the Flux example page, we have links to these things, and then we also are told where to put them. And so the first thing we're going to do is get our clip models from this link right here, which will take you to Comfy's Hugging page, Hugging Face, yes. And you can see these are the clip models right here. Now you're going to need the clip L, and then you're going to need one of these. The FP16 is just going to be more accurate, so if you have more memory available to you, it's recommended to use that one. If you're running like say an RTX 3060 or lower, then you might want to use the FP8, but either way you're going to need the clip L, and then you're going to need one of these two. So we're going to go ahead and just download the clip L first, and if you click this, it will just go straight to your downloads folder. But if you right click it and go to save link as, then you can just go ahead and choose the place where you want to save it instead of downloading to your downloads folder and then moving it. And again, looking back at the examples page, we can see that we need our clip models to go in our ComfyUI models clip folder. Again, we're going to right click, save link as, and then we're going to go into ComfyUI models and clip. And we're going to just leave that the name that it is and click save. And then we're going to go ahead and get, again, you can use either of these depending on what type of GPU you have. If you have a lower VRAM GPU, you can grab this smaller file. I'm going to go ahead and grab this larger file, save link as, and then it's going to go in this same folder here, ComfyUI models clip. And you are going to get to know all of the folders here inside Comfy very well. It might seem like, oh, this is a lot, but really you're only going to end up using a couple of them. You're going to obviously use this models folder here to install all of your different models, and occasionally you're going to come in here into this custom nodes folder. You're not really going to need to be in here that much because you're going to install the custom nodes from within ComfyUI itself. And then the other one you're going to use is this user folder right here. If you come into here, you can see that it has this folder called default, and this is where your workflows are going to go. So again, you can save these from within ComfyUI, but occasionally you might want to pop into here and copy paste a workflow into it. But for the most part, you're going to be using this models folder right here, which again is where you're going to have all your clip models. Your checkpoints is where most of your image generation models are going to go. Flux is actually going to go into this UNET folder here, but pretty much all your other image and video generation models are going to go into checkpoints. You can see this is that basic Stable Diffusion model that we did in the last video. And so most of your image generation and video generation model files are going to go into this checkpoints folder. Your clip folder again is for your clip models, and then you have a whole bunch of other types of models like ControlNet models and LoRa's, and there's a folder here for your autoencoders. But you're going to get to know all of these very well. As you end up trying out new models, you're going to see exactly where to install those. All right, so we got our two clip files here, and then if we go back to the examples page, we can see that we need our VAE, and we need to put that into models/VAE. If you right click, save link as, and this is going to go into models VAE. Right, and so the last piece we need is the model itself. And like I said, we have a couple of different options for that. We have the Flux dev model right here. And again, if you click that, that's going to take you back to Black Forest Labs Flux dev model right here. So you can see that Flux dev 1 is a gated model, and basically what that means is you're just going to have to fill out a form to get access to it, and that's the same for a lot of models. So when you come to this page, if you see a form, don't worry, just put in your information and click submit, and they'll give you access right away. And again, the Flux dev is the biggest model from Black Forest Labs, so it's going to take up about 23 gigs of your VRAM. So if you have a lower VRAM card, obviously it's it's recommended to either use their Schnell model, which if you just click back onto here, you can see there is Flux 1 Dev and there is Flux 1 Schnell. The difference is obviously the Schnell is a much smaller file and it will run on much lower VRAM GPUs, but it's also not going to give you as good of results. The images that you generate with the Schnell model are going to be a little more cartoonish, and so you're not going to be able to get those high quality photorealistic images if you want to generate an image of a person or like a nature scene or something like that. So what I would recommend instead, if you do have a lower VRAM GPU, instead of using the Schnell model, you can use the Flux NF4 model, which is actually not made by Black Forest Labs. Basically, someone took the Flux Dev model and, for lack of a better term, optimized it and made it smaller so that you can actually run it on lower VRAM GPUs. And if you want to get the NF4 model, that is going to be over here on this Elias Fiel. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I'll leave a link in the description, of course. And there are two versions you can choose from right here. They're basically the same. In my case, I want to get both the Dev and the NF4 because sometimes I want to run the NF4 like if I'm running OBS or something at the same time. So it's just nice to have the NF4 model in case I want to use it while I'm doing other things as well. And when I run the exact same text prompt with the exact same settings on the Flux Dev model versus the Flux NF4, I get nearly identical results, pretty much the exact same results on the output image, but the Flux Dev will max out my VRAM, which on the 4090 is 24 gigs, versus the Flux NF4 uses around 10 gigs of VRAM. So if you have a lower VRAM card, definitely go with the NF4 because it's going to give you the exact same results with half the VRAM usage. Once you've filled out your little form here and you get access to the model, you're just going to click on Files and Versions right here. And then you can scroll down to here and you're going to get this large file right here that says Flux 1 Dev Safe Tensors. And for the Flux models, instead of going into checkpoints, they're actually going to go into UNet. If you got the NF4 model, that is going to go into checkpoints. And there we go. Now that we have either our NF4 model, which we put into checkpoints, or our Dev or Schnell model, which we put into UNet, and we have our two clip models that we put into clip, and then we have our VAE model that we put into VAE. We can go back to Comfy. All we need to do now is click the little refresh button there, and you can see now when we come down here, we can click on that and we can actually select these models that are in those folders. When we click down here, we can choose our Flux Dev, and then when we come over here, we can make sure we have our AE Safe Tensors selected. And now when we run this model, we will get some output. You can see that green box right there. It's loading up our Flux model, and after it does that, it will progress on to the next nodes in the workflow. Now it's loading up our clip model. Now it's processing our text prompt, and now it is going through the sampler, and you can see the progress right there. And there we are on my RTX 4090. That took about 30 seconds, and you can see that's the text prompt that was with the example, and here is our stupid little anime girl here. So there you have it. All you have to do is import the workflow and then download the model files, and you can run the Flux model. All right, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Another very simple tutorial. So on the next video, I'm going to show you guys how to get the LLM installed so you can actually generate more sophisticated text prompts using a language model right in Comfy. So you can type a couple of quick words and then the language model will generate a very sophisticated text prompt for you. This language model is pre-trained specifically to generate really good descriptive text prompts for Flux and Stable Diffusion models. So this is going to give you really high quality text prompts, which is going to result in really high quality image generations. And then the next video after that, we're going to do text to video, which is actually going to be like text to image to video, where we will have our Flux workflow with our language model. We can type in a few words. Our language model will generate a sophisticated prompt. Our Flux model will output a very high quality image, and then that image will get fed into Stable Video Diffusion, which will actually generate a video from our high quality Flux image, and it's all going to happen in one workflow, and it's going to be awesome. So be sure to stick around for that. So if you're watching this video right now, that means the language model video and the stable video diffusion video are coming right after this. And of course, as soon as those videos are posted, I will update these videos to include links in the description to those videos. And if you're quick on the draw and you want to get to those videos before I've actually updated the descriptions on these videos, then just check the playlist and you will see those videos in there. But hopefully I will beat you to that. As always, I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say in the comments. If you have questions, of course, put that down there. If you generate some cool images and you want to share that with the crowd, put that in the comments as well. Of course, do all the YouTube things like subscribe, share, all that jazz. And if you want custom model files and workflows to make your life easier, you can hit up the Patreon for that. As always, obviously everything is free, but if you want to become a $5 member over on Patreon to help support my work, that would be fantastic. There are also links to Cash App and Venmo and something else, PayPal. No, I don't have PayPal. One of those other things down in the description. You can check that as well. And I'm going to go ahead and get on the next video. Take care.